Today my speech is titled Children 2000s Face More Challenges than the 1900s. There's been a huge debate between 2000 babies and the 1900 babies, and that is about whose childhood was harder. Most of the time, the number one thing that's brought up is technology, due to the fact that 2000 babies had a lot easier to access information just by the touch of their thumb, while the 1900 babies had to figure it out from personal experiences or the experiences of others. But honestly, this should not be a main point in these debates. There are three way more influential points that should be brought up more often. The first way is identification, such as sexual acceptance. In the 2000s, there's a lot of judgment on these kids by others due to the fact that people don't understand who they are, families don't accept them for who they are, and people think that's just a phase, and these three things should not play a factor in these conversations. As Color states, minority stress has been linked to psychological distress among gay men and lesbians and may contribute to elevated rates of distress, frequently among the LGBTQ youth. This means these children are too stressed out to talk to someone about how they're feeling or branch off and explore themselves due to the fact that they're scared of being judged by others. In the 1900s, there were a lot less options to choose from, which made it a lot less confusing for others to accept and feel the need to branch off into different areas. In the 1900s, people tended to mind their own business. They didn't care about how someone else felt. They didn't care who they identified as. They just minded their business and went through life as they were. Another way of identification is personalities. In the 2000s, there's so many social groups to fit into, and these children do whatever they can just so they can fit into a group and feel welcomed in a group. Also in the 2000s, people just wanted to be liked by everyone. These children will change their personalities, change who they are, change their morals, just so they're liked by every single person they come across. In the 1900s, people weren't worried about these social groups. They were more worried about going out having fun or talking to a random person on the street or just experiencing life. In the 1900s, people just wanted to go out and have fun with each other. My next main point is a little dark, but it is about death, such as school shootings. In the 2000s, it's a lot easier to see on the news. So if a parent is watching the news and a school shooting is on, usually their child is with them and they see the exact same thing. They see either the school that they went to or a school just down the road it could be, and they see all the casualties, which should not be even close to being a thing that they worry about. As Morris states, since 2010, there has been at least 80 more school shootings, and that averages to 20 school shootings per year from 2010 to 2014. That is such a scary statistic that these children should not have to go through. In the 1900s, guns were not as easily accessible. There wasn't as many crazy people going out where parents had to defend their families on any circumstance. So these kids weren't as easy to get a hold of their parents' gun and, well, you know the rest. These kids were also too preoccupied to plan one. They were always out doing something, so it wasn't even on top of their mind that they needed to go do this, or that that's a way that they can relieve some stress, because they didn't have to feel as much stress as these 2000 babies did. Next main point about death is suicides. In the 2000s, there's been an increase in depression, which has steadily increased the rates of suicide due to the stress put on by everyone around them. There's a lot more pressure put on these kids with grades, sports, music, parents, teachers. All this stuff plays a factor on their mental health, which can lead to these suicides. In the 1900s, parents just let their children be children. They were able to go out and have fun. They were able to go to the park when they can or just live their lives. They didn't have to worry about the stress from everybody else. In the 1900s, children were always doing something. They were always outside. They didn't even have to think for a second that they were having a sad life or there was nothing fun to do, because they were always out doing it, no stress at all with them. My third main point is expectations, such as career. In 2000s, there's a lot more jobs that require degrees, which is a lot more stress on these students to go through college and put themselves through all of this stress just so they can get a good paying job. Also, these jobs required a lot more background experiences. So these students had to have jobs while they were being students and trying to focus on their educational careers these jobs would put more stress, more hours, less sleep on these kids. In the 1900s, these children were just worried about having a stable enough job to get through life and a good paying job to support their family. They'll take whatever they could and whatever was available. Another way for expectations is from others. In 2000s, as Ukrainian states, teachers' judgments inform parents and educational counselors about students' performance in school and about students' potential to achieve high educational goals. So these students are stressed out about what the teachers thought about them, so they can branch off and tell their schools or tell their teachers, counselors, anything like that. So they worried about what the teachers thought about them. Also, another factor in the 2000s is families expected a lot from their students, either with school, interest, music, anything like that. Whatever they wanted to do, they had to be the best in so the parents can brag to the other parents about how amazing their kid is. In the 1900s, peers just looked out to go have fun with each other. They weren't worried about, oh, I'm better than this and you're better than that. They were just a united group instead of trying to break each other down. In the 1900s, families expected them to help around the house instead of putting the pressure on school, putting pressure on interest. It was just, hey, can you go clean that? Can you go do the laundry or something like that? Just normal things. So in conclusion, we have been able to see the more important aspects that were faced than just the technology standpoint. The 2000 babies have had a lot rougher life due to the mental health that they had to face. I encourage you all to look and try to see an argument from a different standpoint than just what everyone else is telling you about.